Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deep Dev Episode 7, here where we dive into the deep end of life. Today's episode is a very special one, as always. Today's guest is a very special guest today. Financial influencer on Instagram. You can catch him on YouTube as well, TikTok and whatnot. Ladies and gentlemen, BestGoat3, Karl. Karl, welcome to the deep end, my friend. How's it going, man? I'm glad I got to meet you. This is my first time meeting you. Welcome to the show. It's going to be a good one today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm doing good, bro. I'm excited for today's episode. Not too long ago, I had a Bears playing around. We got to talk about some financial stuff and stuff like that. So I'm always interested in the financial world, in the field like that. So I'm looking forward to today's episode. How about you, man? What you been up to? Tell me a little about yourself, man.
Well, by the way, you guys know my name is Karl. This is my first podcast, so if anything, I'm a little nervous. I can rebut.
No worries.
All right, so well, what was the question again?
What's it called? Just tell me a little bit about yourself, man, before we kick off the show.
Okay, so I was born. I'm from Cameroon, Africa. That's where I was born. Moved out here when I was 11. And I just been on the hustle since then.
Nice.
I create finance content just because, back in the day when I had first moved here, the first thing that came in mind is look up how to make money online fast. So I had done a lot of my research and acquired a lot of knowledge of how to make money online. So I was like, fast forward, about beginning of last year, I started just creating content on, the research I've acquired and all the knowledge I've learned, from the past and stuff. So that's really about me. That's really it.
That's awesome, man. That's a dope story, man. And, obviously, I think it's always cool when you have, the background of, coming from another country, coming from abroad. I think that's always, especially a good feel story. My parents coming from, Europe, coming from, it was Yugoslavia at the time. Now it's Bosnia, being an independent nation. So them coming here and me kind of, being raised here, kind of having the resources to kind of eventually get me into podcasting content, journalism content. So I think that that's very that's a very beautiful story. Coming here, the first thing on your mind is okay, gotta make the money, gotta get on the grind right off the bat, and that's why I want to really that kind of plays into the first question. What was that kicked off the journey for you to be a part of the financial world on this journey with your financial advice?
Okay. So that's a good question, man. So, all right. So what actually made me want to become a financial influencer? That's what the question is, right? All right. So it all started when I used to do e-commerce, right? E-commerce drop shipping. So that was going well, and then I had multiple success stores, and back then I was not really good with money, money management. I would probably run up $10K, and then within a month, and then the next month, there's $0.
So, same here, man. Same here.
Exactly. So I was like, okay, I need some financial, I need to learn how to manage money type stuff. So I was like, okay, I started what I started doing was I watched other content creators make content about money, and I started how do you say it? I started learning from them, how to manage my money better, the 50, 30-20 rule, all of that. So that kind of made me want to create the same content. I was like, okay, if I felt like I was good with content creating, and then plus my business partner, he has been making YouTube, he's been on YouTube for a long time, so he knows how creating content was. So he was the one that kind of got me into creating content. So that's what really got me to start. And when I started, at first I was just doing it for fun, as a hobby, and then all of a sudden, go ahead.
Same here, yeah. Same here.
All of a sudden, I just had a video went viral, and I believe it was my first million view video, and then I got a ton of followers from that. I was like, you know what? I actually like doing this. So I just kept doing it for fun, and then out of nowhere, brands started reaching out to me, and it was like, hey, I like your content. I think my first brand was Smart Credit. I don't know if you guys heard of Smart Credit.
I've heard Smart Credit, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was my first brand deal. I'm still working with them till today. So they reached out. It was they just reached out. It was like, let's pay you $1,000 for video. Back then, I thought I was crazy. I'm getting paid $1,000
for a video, yeah,
just to do a video. So I'm like, okay, bet. I'm gonna do the video, no problem. I didn't negotiate, but I knew I could have got a lot more out of them. But just me seeing that, I was like, okay, there's got to be a potential with this. I started doing research, started making network, and it just went from there.
Hell yeah, bro. That's beautiful, man. That's a beautiful story. And honestly, sort of similar here. Like, so with me when I started YouTube, it was kind of like more of a fun thing. My first type of content is like seasonal content where like I'll go out like every summer to like a country like my homeland in Bosnia. That's always like my first content. I was vlogging, somewhat nervous. And I was being, just doing it for the fun, just, always smiled, getting like 50 to 150 or some views. And then like, when I started doing podcasting, I started to get a little more views and a little more and more. I'm like, oh, wow, this might be my little niche. You start to figure out, like, what's your niche eventually on in life. And I feel like this was sort of like a calling as it kind of goes hand to hand with me doing journalism at school. So that's why I think, YouTube, specifically, like, any sort of content like music, podcasts, financial type content, I feel like a lot of it has like a connection to each other because like it all generates ideas off one another, and it creates like a big general like bubble for us to follow. So I think that's pretty cool how like contents correlate each other. How you had like a business partner, how that's huge. How like Smart Credit approached you with like, hey, do this video, we got you on $1,000. How was that feeling? Can you walk me through that feeling of when Smart Credit first reached out to you, like, hey, we got a video for you if you're willing to do it for us? What was that feeling like?
I mean, it was amazing because like I told you, I did e-commerce and I do like seasonal drop shipping. So it's like certain seasons that I do e-com and I know, okay, bet like it's 3 seasons throughout the years that I know I can make like a huge chunk of money during that season because I've mastered the art of e-com.
Absolutely.
So now, okay, so now with now creating content, that was a whole totally different niche than e-commerce. Content creating, like, I can keep getting deals throughout the year as long as I keep good engagements, right? So the first, like, I didn't even think you could make money from creating content just because I was like at 100,000 followers and I barely made any money from my followers yet. So I was like, wait, like, so all these influencers with a lot of followers, they don't really make money from their followers. So when that first deal hit, I was like, wow. So there's a huge potential with this. I just got to keep it up. Like, it was just like a spark, like, that made me want to hustle more. And that's all it was.
And that's awesome. And it's good that we all have that spark that keeps us going. And when did it all start in terms of like your first little video you put out? And what got you deeper into scenarios? So where let's say in one of your videos, I remember it was like all these secret grocery hacks where you were advising us like, hey, if you're trying to return some and, I think it was like some with strawberries, if it looked bad on the bottom, do the double back guarantee. And I didn't even know about that. And how much of financial studies did it take for you to understand those like little tricks up the sleeve and for you to like put it out there for people to know about? Because I feel like nowadays, I think it's sort of like, no, I guess I could say it's very important to kind of like know how to like manage your money, but also like know how to manage yourself in financial situations when you're at a store, when you're at a bank, when you're, taking care of a bill payment. Walk me through how much studies did that take? Because I'm still, I consider myself still like my rookie stages of understanding financial stuff like that. I get like most of the basic stuff like investing and stuff like that. But all these other little terms, just like what does that mean exactly? So walk me through how much the studies did it had to take for you?
All right, so as far as that, creating content, a lot of people say you run out of ideas at some point, right? I don't believe in that because I feel like there's always something to talk about in any niche that you're in, right? So, like majority, and this is a little spoiler, majority of my content, I have a virtual assistant that do all the research. They give me like a video script. All I gotta do is just sit on the camera and just record it. So I don't know. I know for a fact it's like information that works. That's what I know. But the research is not being done by me. I have virtual assistants in Pakistan and India that I pay them like $300 a month, and then they just work for me full time, give me content ideas, and then that's really it.
Oh wow, that's actually sick. That's actually sick. And honestly, I agree on that. There is definitely always something to talk about. Specifically, with like financial content creating, like any sort of content creating. There's always like certain ideas you could create. The way I look at it is like my last video should spark an idea for what I should do for my next video. So let's say my last couple of videos, I was doing some vlogging. That gives me the idea to do like another different type of vlog in a different type of scenario or setting. So I feel like depending on like how big of a spark we have inside of us, we could always generate like all types of ideas. Like you said, having an assistant, having a team is always the best thing to have, because when you have like people you could reach out to and help you out, you know, like I have like a few people, you know, that help me out, like, cause you know, I do like some sports analysis on the side for school. So it's time to time I'll have a couple like buddies of mine reach out to me like, hey, you know, here's a crazy statistic I found the other day about this one player, you know, during the NBA playoffs, you know, and like some crazy stats.
Sports betting.
Yeah, like some crazy stats. Because I have a couple of friends, you know, that are crazy into sports betting. I have some people that are crazy into just, you know, sports, period. So, like, so their sort of insight and, like, you know, it kind of helps me because I love analyzing just sports. But sports bettors, like, they kind of bring in a different type of analysis. They'll bring up, like, all these, like, weird stats of, like, you know, for example, like how much water they drink per minute, like on the bench. Is just like, why do I need that? But don't bring it to me. It's like, hey, put in your next video. This is probably something interesting people will talk about. Like this, how much, you know, Russell Westbrook's, you know, complains on the bench per second. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. So there's always something new, you know, to bring out there for people. And you also have videos like, you know, how to refill like a perfume bottle. And airlines will hate me for this. So, and it's very interesting videos because what kept going, the constant flow, and what kept going, this constant flow of ideas and subjects to talk about with your content, considering you have so many videos on this platform, you had to be consistently paced with what you're doing, I'm sure. I'm sure like every day you're like, think of something like, okay, I'm gonna talk about this, you know, hey, the Adidas store, here's what they could do over here. So how much does that play into your everyday, you know, grind?
If I was to be 100% honest, like as far as my video content, like I said, I don't play a huge like role into that. I really just have virtual assistants. I'd be like, hey,
To help you out, yeah.
go look at, you know, like this was like, you know, for the past 3 months this year so far. Like, you know, before that, I used to do my own content, you know, everything, research my own content, do everything by myself. So I was trying to outsource that so I have more time to like focus on something else. So as far as what you said, like everything that, you know, every content that I make right now, well, moving forward, I'm going to be like, you know, putting a lot more thought into my content and like having somebody do it for me. But yeah, I just have a virtual assistant bring those content ideas. I didn't play any part but by just sitting on the camera and just recording. That's it.
And then honestly, that's honestly the best way to do it right now. With how technology is growing, you really have to like rely on like all types of like, you know, assistants, you know, virtual assistants, you know, like now how AI is just growing super fast, which we'll talk about later on the show. I do want to talk about that. So I think it's very, you know, important, like you said, you know, having like some sort of like team, whether it's like, you know, virtual assistants, whether it's like, you know, a team of like, you know, group of buddies that, you know, have the same ambition as you do. And I think that's crucial nowadays. Like if you like had the right preparation in terms of like which type of assistance you're seeking, you know, virtual assistants or a couple buddies, if you feel it's right and it turns out right, you're going to come out with successful product and come out with, you know, successful type content. And that's just how it naturally works.
Thanks.
That's just how it naturally works. And now, what would you say is the biggest importance behind finance, generally speaking, for people in modern society? Because, you know, I feel like nowadays, like, especially if the, you know, some of like the younger generation, like kind of people like around like our age and stuff like that, a lot of people, like I would say, well, I wouldn't say a lot, I would say somewhat most, like kind of have a hard time troubling managing their money correctly. And honestly, like, you know, like you mentioned it, like, you know, starting off the show, I'll mention it too, like I was not that great managing my money. Like I remember like my first, you know, job or two, like the first paycheck or two, was just like, wow, I just got paid $800 some or $1,000. Like, let me go out and do some shopping. And then, you know, I'm over here doing some reckless shopping. Like, oh, I just got a new Nike store. I got new this, you know, overpaid for some stuff.
True.
And then you are at now $50 on your card. And then now you're just like, shit, now I got to wait on my next paycheck, you know, whether it's weekly or 2 weeks, whatever. And that just naturally happened. It's like rolling your ankle in basketball. It's like catching a cold. Everyone's going to at some point, like, kind of like, be somewhat, you know, I guess could say not disciplined for money. It's natural, it happens, but we learn off that. What would you say is the key importance? So would you say it's budgeting? Would you say it's how we invest? What would you say it's a little bit of everything? What makes it so important for us today?
So I would say, like, based on what you said, like your story and stuff like that, it really, if I was to correlate that to my story, the way I'm bad with finance wise, is that I'm the type of person that I don't think of saving money. I think of making money. That's how. So my finance, like you about to see my whole content is about to switch up. Like right now I talk about how to save money. I'm about to switch it on how to make money because I think if you're trying to save money, like if I'm honest, if I'm being honest, my videos are a little corny. Those videos, I'm being honest, because I'm literally making videos on how to save a few cents, a few dollars at Walmart or like Target, this, that. It's amazing because some people need it. But if you really trying to be, if you really want to take control of your finances, you gotta like figure out how to make more money. Because why? Inflation is going up. Stuff is always going, like the prices are gonna go up. Everything's gonna go up
every day.
Exactly. So it's like if you were focusing on saving a few dollars, like that's pointless. You got to think of how to make, how do I make my next, $50,000 next month? So like that's what. As far as you saying you get your first paycheck, you just go spend it. I was not that type of person. I was the type of person that I think, as far as like, I think that well, it works sometimes it didn't. So let's say if I was to make $3,000 this week, I would go spend it all on something. And then I know, like subconsciously, I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make that $3,000 back again. So it's really ain't nothing, which is it's still a bad mindset to have, but that's how I would say I'm bad financially, not really how you said you were bad. Like, it's different.
Absolutely, man. No, 1 billion%. Like, I think, like, and it's cool. Hey, I'll admit to some of my, past videos, some of the things I'll do on my podcast could come off as a little corny. But hey, I think that, that's not too bad. I personally don't think some of your videos aren't that corny. Maybe a few.
Nah, it is corny, like 100%, man. He can keep it on.
But I think it's definitely still like useful knowledge for us to pick your brain, for us to help us. And like you said it perfectly, like, these videos will help, save a couple bucks, probably, get you that refund or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, I forgot how the saying goes, but when you get all the advice in the world and, you watch a certain video, at the end of the day, it'll come up to you. It'll end up to you to want to execute all of those, advices, because exactly. I could, you could give me like, hey, Tariq, this is how you, save this is how you invest into this. But I could be like, oh, wow, that's amazing. But then I'll say like, oh, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do this. And then I don't end up doing it. Exactly. And then that person, so you, that audience member, you, whoever it is out there, whenever you get advice, take it, seek it, and see how much does it benefit you. And if it doesn't, let's say, take you on to the most craziest of levels, it should still help you in the sense of like, okay, it got me to create some sort of progression. Let me keep continuing this instead of just kind of like just sticking around. And that's how I am. I always, like, whenever I had like any sort of guest on, or I ask like my folks like little like financial advice, like advice about anything, I'll just hear them out, whether it's like from their personal experience or whatnot. And one of the few things I mentioned, like, recently on this episode, with that Bears player on, like, I talked about how my pops is super old school European. So he's about needs and wants, the most cliche thing. So I'll never forget, like, I was trying to get a new iPhone at the time. It was like around, I had like the 17, it was like the XR or something. And then like my dad was like, is your phone working well? I'm like, yeah, it's working well. I was like, so do you need the phone? I'm like, well, I want it. He's like, exactly, you don't need it. And I did not know what the fuck he was talking about. Like, I was like, what are you on about? Like, and then he was like, no, just shoot me a quick call. So I shot him a quick call. He was like, the phone's working, right? I'm like, well, no duh. He's like, okay, so you don't need a new phone. You don't need it. You just want it. You only need it for, for what? Just to like, to call people, to shoot like an important text messages. That's what a phone is for. You're not like get a whole new phone. And that day, it kind of like hit me like, damn, like, he does bring up a good point. Like, my phone is completely working well. Do I need it this very moment? I could wait another year or two for a brand new one. Why do I have to get it now? And it's little stuff like that helps us. So you said it perfectly well, bro. You said it perfectly well, because I think especially now, like, with how, like you said, inflation especially, like, this is crazy. Like, groceries, gas, like, even certain clothing brands have like gone, crazy. Like a regular Nike shirt is like $35, $40. Like that's crazy. Like that's insane. Like I hate how some people think like, oh, that's perfectly normal. Like no, it's not. Like that's not normal. Like you could go to Burlington and I'm gonna sound like one of those. You could go to Burlington, you go to Ross, you can find maybe the same exact Nike shirt for way less, bro.
Facts.
It's crazy, bro.
Yeah, most def. I mean that's true, man. But as far as inflation, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think? What like as far as like you heard about the whole recession stuff that's going on, right? So what do you think about that? Like in the next year or two?
I'm a bit scared. Okay. I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh no, I did see some of that recently. Because I'm most of the time, really like about like positive news like sports news and try to like keep the morale going in society. But then I saw like the inflation, the recession and stuff like that. And I'm just like, this is gonna hurt us bad. Thanks. And like, and going back to earlier, this is what kind of like goes back to us, kind of like being like financially aware of like how to like handle certain situations and like how to be prepared for certain situations. So example, like how we're talking about like inflation, how we're talking about, having the right type of money to, solve every sort of, situation. I think we just have to, we definitely have to approach this like, calm-minded. Now that might sound crazy for me to say like, oh, how can you be calm in this situation? Well, it doesn't make any better if you're, freaking out and stuff like that. So I think us as society, it's definitely going to hurt us bad. Now, do I see things getting better for us anytime soon? Maybe not, probably not, but we just had to be prepared and take this opportunity to kind of just like learn from it. And I'm still learning from it. There's like, I would say like the past couple of years, me starting to understand more of like the real world out there, with politics, economics, and, finance and stuff like that. That really does play a role in your adulthood and as you get older, because like it's one thing as you're a kid. Like when you're a kid, like not that you don't have to worry about it, but you don't really have to like truly give a fuck about it. Like as a kid, as like a young kid, you're on the game, you're going to middle school, whatever, early high school. But once you're like later in high school, you're going to college, you're a young adult in your 20s and like approaching adulthood, basically. That's when you have to like legit. We're like, oh shit, this affects me. Like I'm a regular Joe out here, and like this affects me. Like I gotta like watch with how much I spend. I gotta watch like like my family and stuff like that. And yeah, that's crazy, man. Like I'm a bit worried. I'm glad you asked that. I'm a bit worried for sure, because like we just went through years. Like now it's a bit of a different subject. We went through years of like COVID, and the way we handled that was completely fucking terrible. Thanks. But and you know what's crazy? Like now you're just walking around as like, is it still going on or is it over? Because you still see people with masks on. It's like, is it done yet? Like what the fuck? Like why am I the only one in this entire area without a mask on?
But hold on, did you believe COVID was real though?
No, I get asked this quite often. I'm not gonna say that it was like a fake sort of sickness. I'm not gonna say that. Do I think we overreacted to it? Yes. I think the way we reacted to it was completely like, let's shut the entire system down. Like, whoa. Like, we don't even know like the full extent of it yet. Like, let's pump the brakes. And honestly, like, I asked my dad the same thing too. I asked him like, hey, do you think this is like real? And my dad, he's like, he's such a political guy. Like, he loves politics. He loves, little political stuff. It's like, oh no, that's all, BS. And I'm just like, okay, well. As I walked away from that. But to answer your question though, I'm not gonna say it was like fake or lied about. I just think the way it was approached was somewhat overreactive. Would you agree?
I think COVID itself was not real. It was just like I'm not trying to say too much because, I know some information that I can't really be saying, but COVID was just like it's like a test. It was just like a test, really, because I don't know if you know Elon Musk with the Neuralink whole thing that he got going on and stuff like that, and it has to like do with AI. To be able to keep up with AI, everybody gonna need chips on their head. So like 30 years down the line from now, I think COVID, it was just like a test to see if the government still has control over a mass amount of the population. That's what I think it was. Because, yeah, that's really why. I'm not going to say too much. That's really what I think it was.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I'm glad you asked that. You know, I think, you know, conversation like this is definitely, like, good to have because, like, as we get older, our, you know, let's say, like, you know, whenever we have kids down the line, like, whoever, like, we tell them, like, you know, like, I'll have to tell, like, my future kid in, you know, the near future, like, hey, this is what happened during my time. Like, we had a crazy freaking virus. Like, this is what happened. And it's going to be crazy when you look back as years progress. Like, man, that was, like, somewhat of, like, a pivotal moment in, like, our little history because, like, I think what you say, like, obviously, you know, we can't say too much.
Thanks.
Definitely trying to keep the show. No, but I think, like, what you said is definitely should be looked at for sure, like a test. And I kind of viewed it as that, too. In a way, in the beginning process, because I'll never forget, like in the beginning stages of it, like everything was shut down. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like is this like them to test us how to react? Like is this the Great Depression part 2? Like what the fuck is going on? Like and then freaking, you know, I forget, like it lasted like what 2-3 years, like 2-3 years it lasted, and I'll never forget like how even like. At first, now I don't think it's still mandatory, but I know at the time when it first started, the vaccines, that was a huge thing. Like, you know, the vaccines. Now, if you don't mind me asking, I won't be one of those Karens, you know, did you get vaxxed? I don't care, by the way. No, and I completely respect that. Completely got nothing against that, bro. I won't be a Karen. I refuse because we got too many of that nowadays. And honestly, you know, I don't blame you. I 1,000,000,000% respect that decision. I honestly think the way we handled that too wasn't the right way it was supposed to be handled because at the end of the day, you know, your body, your choice, you do what you want with it, you know.
Thanks.
I only took out today. One of my main reasons was because at the time I remember when they were like, I don't know if they were still doing overseas traveling, but I know it was very like restrictive and like very limited. So I remember that following summer after like the first year of like, you know, crazy COVID, I was able, you know, to go to my homeland. I was able to go to Europe, go to Bosnia, but in order to go, I had to get vaxxed. And I'm like,
you could have got one of those cards, man.
I know. And at that time, you know, I didn't really think about it. I didn't think about it. And I was just like, should I go get it? And I'm like, look, I want to see my family. Why not? So I remember I got it. And then that's around the time, you know, like it started, you know, like the fake, you know, like the vax cards came out, stuff like that. Maybe that's why I didn't get it, because it was around the time, it was a little before that sort of became a thing. But yeah, man, like little stuff like, you know, inflation, looking back, what happened with COVID, like a lot of this plays like a role in like affecting like our economy, affecting our mental states. So, by the way, I'm glad you asked those type of questions, man, because that was definitely dope to talk about, especially with like, you know, the COVID inflation thing, like for sure, because man, it's crazy when you look back of like what we've kind of faced lately. It's crazy.
And as far as like the stimulus check and stuff like that, did you take advantage? Like, did you?
I did get one.
Okay,
I did get one.
About like as far as like, cause I knew a lot of people that were, cause you gotta think about it. The government is giving out trillions of dollars every month, so like, it's ways that it's. I'm talking as far as business wise, because I knew a few people who were like was able to run up like $300,000 every month, like consistently, just like throwing up vending machines and like putting like mask kits and stuff like that. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like they put mask, hand sanitizers and something like in a little kit, and then sold them in vending machines for like $10. Because remember back then, mask prices went up out of nowhere, you know, so. Some people took advantage from it because the government is giving out stimulus. You know the saying when they say that when the government gives out money to the poor and middle class, it always goes back to the rich. So were you able to take advantage? Like that's what I meant.
Not necessarily, no. Not necessarily. I would say like I took somewhat advantage of it, but not like to its full potential, I guess you could say. Yeah. And how many stimulus checks were there? There were 3, no?
I really don't know, but
I remember there was like there was definitely 2. I remember there was like one round of it, and then like another round like a month or 2 later, like, hey, there's another one coming out. And then like you have all these people fucking sharing about it on Facebook or Instagram, and but yeah, I remember like around that time I did get a stimulus. I did get it was the first one. I didn't get the second one, but I remember getting the first one, and like I was just like I didn't think I'd get one, but yeah, that's another thing I'm gonna tell. Like in the future, like hey guys, like we got stimuluses. Like you know we were down bad.
Now, in the future, they're actually, all right. In the future, like 20 years from now, this was gonna happen, right?
Ooh, a prediction, or it's gonna happen?
It's going to happen. Like, all right, it's going to happen, but I can't give you like a direct timeline, right? Everybody is gonna, cause look, think of it as this: AI. When AI, I literally just made a video about this on my YouTube. I don't know if you saw it, but AI is gonna take over like humans, and everybody's gonna be pets to AI. So this is what's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna have chips in their head to keep up with AI, and the government is gonna give out like stimulus on a monthly basis to everyone. That's how it's gonna be. Yeah, and if that's only if you take the chip. If you don't take the chip, you're not part of the stimulus program. Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
I did see that AI video, by the way. I did see it.
You saw it? You watched the whole thing?
I didn't get to fully watch the whole thing, but I did catch a couple parts of it with like how like you know fast AI is growing and how it's gonna be literally a full on in our society.
And guess what? That whole video was edited strictly by AI. My virtual assistants did not touch it. AI. So you see how powerful AI is.
It's crazy, and like we're definitely touching more on AI in just a moment. There was like one or two questions I wanted to ask you about, like you know your journey and your grind. But that was definitely you know a cool little moment right there, talking about COVID and you know economy, inflation. But now I've noticed one thing, especially nowadays, you know we have to be careful. You know, definitely I've always like you know gotten advice from like especially from my past and like from others like. How important is it to not be like gullible, especially in today's time? You'll see a lot of online advertisements, you know, a lot of these small videos that might, you know, could trick people into like buying something or like signing up for something like, you know, like, hey, it could be that one comment in the comment section, like DM me, you know, like this photo and I'll sell you 500, like okay, like whatever, some weird shit. I'm just thinking of some like cheap example, but how would you say it's important to like you know avoid those scam offers? I feel like nowadays like I've witnessed times where people legit would get scammed. They would legit, and I just sit there like how does that happen? Like, and I always facepalm when they would tell me the story.
I've gotten scammed before, like thousands of dollars online. But the thing is, I'm the type of person, like I told you, I'm the type of person like. I genuinely believe that, like, if you really want to make it, you have to invest. Like, you have to pay a price to make it. So you just got to find a legit source. Like, for example, I've paid to make connections. I have a lot of network. Like, I know some real well-connected people, and that was paying to, like, make connections, right? Same time, I've paid people, like, a couple grand. I've had people promise me they can automate YouTube automation for me. I paid them 10 grand. And, you know, everything, like, it was a complete scam because the channel didn't even get to 100 subscribers within 3 months. So, you know, I genuinely believe that you can get scammed out there, but the best way for you to not get scammed is, you know, I'll say this, right? If you're trying to pay or buy something online and it's a high-ticket product that you're paying like thousands of dollars from, because that's like, you know, the little $100 like scam, you can avoid that easily. But if you want to avoid getting scammed, you have to get some sort of free information from wherever you're buying the stuff from. If they're not, I'm like willing to give you some free information, that there's a chance it's gonna be a scam. Like, cause, like I said, I believe scared money don't make no money, cause you have to invest, you have to pay the price to make more money. That's how I generally like think and believe. Yeah. So as far as like avoiding those scams and staying not being gullible,
trust your gut instinct. Like
I really don't know, because sometimes I really don't know how to answer that question, man. You just have to like, trust your gut.
Yeah, you just have to trust your gut instinct. Yeah, like I feel like that was a tough one because like for me, I've had times like I'm not gonna lie to you, and like kind of I guess I could throw like a little side question to this. Like I'll be honest, like there's been times where like I didn't get scammed to the point where like, you know, someone took my money, but I've been, you know, I've witnessed and like, I guess could say I've been a part of a thing where I've gotten scammed myself. Like it is like, it's somewhat like it's like getting like that one unknown number call. You don't know where the hell it's from. It's probably some automated voice message or whatever. And then like, that just happens, you know, like I'm not saying it's eventual where you're at some point you're going to 100% for sure get scammed. It's kind of like when I mentioned earlier in the episode starting off, it's like having a rolled ankle. You're just naturally gonna bump into it. Like you're gonna bump into some sort of scam artist. It's just gonna happen. But I think in a weird way, I think it's good for one reason. Like, not to sound like some sort of wise guru, but like it definitely helps you like to learn like, okay, there's definitely certain people out there that's really like, you know, like fucked up. Like they want to like, you know, scam me type shit. But then there's people like you mentioned, like legit people you could pay money, create connections, create a team. So I also think like, cause like there's been people like there's been stories where like people get like DMs or something, they won't know if they could trust it or not. But there's ways to sort of like work around that.
Like, yeah, for example, like me, I probably have like over 100 like fake accounts, people trying to beat me on Instagram.
Oh my God.
On TikTok, probably way more than that. So
wait, no, yeah, I've seen a lot of TikTok, especially.
Exactly. So everybody like they hit on my followers, and you know they've probably made thousands of dollars from my followers just scamming them, and they think it's me because I've had a few other people in my DMs like, you know, been like, hey, like, you know, you promised to do this, that. Where my money at? This, that. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? So,
man, that must be such a weird feeling. Like you're just chilling there, and you're just like, I didn't text you. Like, who are you? It's just like, well, why are you texting? Oh man, that's shitty. Like, I definitely gotta be careful nowadays for sure.
Thanks.
Well, for sure. And then lastly, before we kind of get into some fun, you know, talk about some other stuff. Really, what's the end goal for you, you know, with this type of content? By the way, guys, check out his YouTube channel, TikTok. Everything will be in the link in the description below of this video. So be sure to check him out. Show some mad love to this guy.
Appreciate it.
What is the end goal with like with all your content, man? Like, what's the end goal? What would you say is like, you know, is it more of like, you know,
like what's my mission type stuff?
Yeah. What's your mission? Like spreading like a good overall positive word about like how to approach financial stuff like that, or like what is this specifically? That's like, you know, the finish line for you.
All right, so the finish line, I would say, I'm trying to create like, that's a really good question. Well, I can tell what my mission is, what I plan on using social media, like what I plan on leveraging social media for, but I don't think there's any end goal. Like I'm just gonna keep creating finance content until it's no longer like a trend no more. So as far as like mission and end goal, like, you know, I'm really like a fan of giving back. Like, you know, I like to give back a lot. Like, so,
that's my goal one day too.
Exactly. So, I'm trying to, you're going to start seeing the content during the summer. Like, you know, I'm going to be giving back, like, you know, yeah, giving back to my community especially. And also, I have like, my goal's really huge, man. I don't know if I want to say it. So, you know, one of my main like big goals is to really take over like an economy. So like take over the economy of my country. That's one of my main goals. So with that, like I have a plan structured, but I don't know every step of like, you know, I'm gonna take to do that.
But the blueprint is there though.
Yeah. Exactly. So it starts from somewhere. So and yeah, that's really my mission, because I don't know if you know, like I really keep like up to date with news, finance news, and everything. And if you don't, I don't know if you know this, but China is basically taking over Africa, and you know, somebody got to step to, you know, do something about it, and especially for my country, I know that I'm gonna step and do something about it. So, you know, it's just like there's steps to, you know, making it happen. So I'm just gonna leverage social media, because right now it all started as a side hustle, like, you know, me making content and like just trying to help other people out there that needed like the information to do certain things. And you know, it turned into a source of income. So that's really what I'm, you know, using social media for.
For sure. And I guess you could say like I have like a similar goal. My social media, I guess could say it's where it's like, it's not that I'm not full-time, I'm not exactly part-time either. It just helps me with like my resume for me doing sports journalism in school. Like, hey, got a podcast, you know, check it out. Is this like as a resume builder? But as I've seen with how stuff has been going lately, this will eventually become like, you know, like definitely like a, you know, like a side niche along with my goal. But definitely, like you mentioned, like, back in Africa, Cameroon, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
I think that's a beautiful goal because for me, I think nowadays, I'm glad you think about your country for real, because for me, I think it's somewhat sad when some people nowadays, and you might see this too, some people nowadays, especially in today's generation, where their parents, whether they came from Europe, Africa, Asia, or wherever, South America, some of them tend to forget their roots and why their parents came here. And the way I see it is like, my parents came here so that I could take advantage of these resources, I could have a grateful life. Because if they stayed back home, like, I wouldn't be in this fucking studio right here. So the way I see it is like, I'm gonna give back to my hardworking people back home, because I know some kid out there, like I said this in one of my earlier episodes, like, there's a kid out there that would without no hesitation, if they heard about McDonald's hourly pay, they'll be like, oh, and they would run over here if they really wanted to.
Exactly.
Like, we take shit for granted out here, and my goal one day is to also give back, because like, to me, remembering where you're from, the old roots matters so much. And I did see that issue too, that I feel like that needs to be a little more talked about with like the Africa and Thailand, I believe. So like
China,
excuse me. Yeah, I misheard you, but yeah, like, I think that's definitely a thing that has to be more talked about, because like, smaller countries, like, they really have it rough, specifically, from Africa for sure. And like, so many hardworking people, bro, so many. So I think, looking back, at our small countries, because Bosnia isn't a great country, economically, we're not that great. It's not pretty over there. So I always remember like my roots and what keeps me going on this mission. So I'm glad you said that as one of your goals, for real.
Facts. But the thing is, as far as that goes, like, it's not really the way China's doing it. It's kind of like, you really don't know, because it's like African countries, they're like really developing countries. Like, they're like still starting off. They just gained their independence probably like not even a decade yet. So what they're doing is, China's loaning like African countries like millions of dollars. To them, that's amazing. That's like heaven. So they're loaning them a lot of money. Just say, hey, here you go. Here goes $100 million. Just use that. You don't have to pay us back or anything. But in the contract, it states that it's a partnership. So it means that they can come and do whatever they want to do in their country.
Oh, no.
And you really can't stop them. So if they decide, hey, we want to come build a warehouse over there, and you can't really say nothing. So
that's tough. It's
exactly.
It's like a weird little trap. Oh,
exactly.
my God.
So that's really what's going on. And and to take over an economy, what you got to do is create jobs. So start building.
Yes.
Exactly. Create jobs, and then build like infrastructures, like like buildings, like apartments, just stuff like that to start, like, because if you create an economy, the money circulates back to you, because you own the economy. You get what I'm saying? So you create like factories here, create apartments here, and then you just hire people from like the area, have them come work and live here. So they're living in a good like city or economy and working good, decent jobs, and it just you just spread. That's how the economy works. So,
exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, man. It's definitely definitely an issue that has to be looked at. And I didn't know about like the contracting. Like, that's so. I hate stuff like that, because there's so many stories like that, like where it's like real estate agents or whatnot. Guys, always read that contract. Like, sometimes like people will just be like, I get like a weekly bonus benefit. Oh, that looks good. Like, sign me up. And but they don't see the other couple sentences that might kind of seal your fate. And always, like, it's a cliche thing, but if my mom said, if you like the book, reread the book. And if you like the contract, reread the contract, because you might catch them like, oh shit, like, I don't know about that. I don't know about wanting to be in that sort of situation.
Exactly. So yeah. I get contracts all the time because I work with brands. So that's that. What I do is I just outsource it. I literally just pay someone, hey, read the contract, like, let me know the most highlighted like portion of the contract.
And what are the pros and cons? Yeah,
exactly, the pros and cons of the contract. So that's what I do. Like, get somebody on Upwork, pay him $10. He do that, hour two, you know. So
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. Now, definitely fun. That was definitely fun conversation. Now to kind of transition to the second half, the end of the episode, like the second half. A random title way. So this segment, we just talk about, like random news lines that I peeped out over a week, whether it's, it's goofy, whether it's, finance or whatnot, just some stuff that popped out. But definitely what I want to talk about for a little bit is definitely the AI takeover, because I definitely want to talk a little bit more about that. Recently, the other day, I was on like my SoundCloud, I use SoundCloud and Spotify, and, I'm a big, Juice WRLD fan, and yeah, he has a lot of unreleased songs. But there were some songs like by him, it would say like AI produced. I'm like, well, okay, let me listen to this. And it will sound exactly like him. And then there will be like this Drake part. It's like, since when was Drake on this? And it's like AI produced. And it sounds exactly like him. You're just sitting there like, holy shit, there's not going to be AI produced music now. And now I believe Drake, if I'm not mistaken, he filed a lawsuit trying to find out like, who generated through that AI system. Like, I got to reread that article, but I know he filed a lawsuit. I know he definitely filed a lawsuit. I read something through Complex that Drake filed a lawsuit, but that, like, it's crazy. Now, the music sounded amazing, but it just felt weird to listen to it, because it's like, this isn't them. This is some AI generated music. This isn't, and it feels weird. Like, it's crazy where our time is going now with music, with, there could probably AIs be involved in the sports eventually, maybe like sports analysis and shit like that. Like, crazy.
And the thing is that AI is only at 0.5 of its potential. It's not even at 1% yet. So, and it's already doing this. So imagine 10 years from now, how is it going to be? 20 years from now.
It's going to be so interesting to see. Like, it's going to end up as like similar to that show Futurama, where they legit have like they can have like, AI type, intelligence, where they can have like, like maybe not like full on like, like robots walking around, but like that could come eventually one day too. Like, it's gonna come. Like, all this will like
Tesla already built a robot. I don't know if you guys seen it, and it's at its full potential right now, but they haven't released it to the public yet, because they know if they release it to the public while Neuralink hasn't been released yet, it's gonna be bad for the it's gonna be bad. It's just gonna be chaos, because companies now it's gonna be chaos the next 30 years. Whoever invented AI made a terrible idea, because now everybody is not gonna have jobs no more. Like, I'm talking about our kids. Like, in the future, I don't think there's gonna be a thing in school no more. You just implant a chip into their head and the program. They're smart. That's how it's gonna be. So it's really gonna be messed up, and
that's crazy.
So everybody's jobs. Nobody gonna have jobs. Just stay home and just listen to the world order. Whatever they tell you to do, just do it. Just be obedient. That's what it's gonna be.
And would you say this is gonna start off like? Do you think this is gonna fully expand America first, or do you think it's gonna start off elsewhere and eventually, expand throughout the world? Like, how do you think AI is gonna slowly spread out?
All right, so Trump is going to be reelected 2024. He's going to be president. And after that, 2028 elections, that's when it's really going to start. That's where it's going to start.
Wow. Yeah. I'm going to peep out for that stuff. That's going to be very, very, oh my goodness. Like, I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine, like, especially like, oh my God, like AI sports betting, like, oh my goodness. Can you imagine that? Like, sports bettors out there, like if they had some AI assistance on that?
Hey, I bet you there's some people using it right now.
I would not be surprised.
Hundreds, millions of dollars every day.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. So
crazy. Oh my goodness. But and then the second one briefly, very weird. I was like scrolling through a couple articles. It happened in Old Bridge, New Jersey. 500 pounds of pasta was dumped at a stream in New Jersey. For whatever reason, they found 500 pounds of pasta. It was a lot of noodles. I think there was a few meatballs there. Like, it was bad. Like, I'm just thinking, like, why the fuck would they do that? Like, why would they like dump 500 pounds of pasta? And yeah, bro. And like, I guess the people of New Jersey got mad, not for the sole fact that it was a waste of pasta, but the fact that it could have went to like food banks. I believe it was a mayor. Someone commented, quote, "This could have went to the food bank," or whatever. I just still think it's so fucking funny. Like, you're just driving and you just kind of look to your left, like beneath the bridge. Instead of seeing water, you just see a pile of fucking spaghetti and shit. It's just like, why is this there? Like, like, who does that? And oh my God, like, I can't even imagine, like, like 500 pounds of it's like either you just did not want to sell any of that stuff anymore, or something in your head. What made them just want to just dump all that pasta? That's what makes me like just fucking sit there in awe. Like, that's crazy.
Some people got problems.
No, legit problems. Like 500 pounds of pasta. Like I'm gonna try to find a picture to show you, but oh my God, it was bad. It was legit bad. It was literally, and like supposedly it rained that day. So when you look down, the pasta, I guess, from like the rain and like some of the humidity or whatnot, like the pasta looked, it was like somewhat cooked, like the noodles.
Yeah.
So people look down, they're like, is it cooked or whatever? I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like that's just a waste of food. Like, oh my, I hope like at least the birds came down, like, you know, like, but no, that was definitely like weird. Like, no, but yeah, random as fuck.
I wasn't expecting you to talk about that, but that's random.
No, yeah, because like because like last episode, like, you know, I had someone on for this segment. Basically, like, you know, as I mentioned, just random news titles, and like I brought up, you know, now this was crazy. This happened actually. It was actually happening in South Africa. So someone was trying to fly to like the east side of it, I believe, and for some reason, like the pilot, he noticed something was odd in the cockpit, like beneath his legs, like, and he looked down, a snake ended up in the cockpit, and like random as fuck, and like it just happens, and yeah, man, this segment, I just added it recently.
Snake ended up in the cockpit.
Snake in it.
So what happened? He crashed?
No, he didn't crash. He was actually able to, you know, do the emergency landing, but the fucked up thing was it took another 2 hours for them to land. And I'm just like sitting there reading, like, damn. So in that moment, in any small moment of those 2 hours, if he had just moved a certain way where it pissed off the snake, could have just bit his ass. And that's the thing that gets me like thinking, like, wow. And snakes are like, I hate out some people because like there's snakes in you know, in Europe, like in Bosnia. Like the thing about snakes are like, you know, territorial type animals. So they're kind of like, how do I say it this way? I want to say they're like bees, but like basically if you piss them off, they're going to bite you. My thing is like, if you leave it alone, it's not going to do anything to you. You coming up to it, be like, hey, and you go up to all its face, it's going to fucking bite your eyes off. Like that's just going to, it's just like, you're asking for it at that point. You're literally asking for the snake, hey, bite me. Like legit, bite me, like right here. Like you can't be doing that. You have to like let it be. It's literally like a bee. You don't piss off the bee or else it's going to sting you, you know? So the pilot knew, okay, I'm not moving my foot. I'm gonna just drive. Now, my guess, he said you could put on autopilot and maybe like throwing it out. Fuck that. I'm driving the plane. If it bites me, it bites me. But I am not like touching the snake. So they landed safely. They threw out the snake. How to get there? No one fucking knows how. Maybe it was probably I said it was probably through cargo, because you know how like airlines, you know, have like that little cargo section beneath the plane. I'm thinking maybe the plane might have slithered its way to the cargo, maybe outside on the ramp field. I'm thinking that's how I went through, because there's no way I went through inside the airport through TSA onto the plane. Like, there's just no way. Like,
it was a commercial plane, or was it?
I believe, I would have to double check. It didn't. I think it was some sort of commercial plane, so it might have been one of those where it might just sneak through the airway. Crazy, man, crazy, random as fuck. But yeah, that's random tidal waves. And to round up the show today, a fun would you rather, a couple financial would you rather questions. Now, let's start off with this. Would you rather end student loan debt forever, or would you rather end credit card debt forever?
Student loan debt.
Student loan debt?
Yep, because credit card, like literally, like you can remove anything from your credit. Even student loan, like you can remove anything from your credit. Like,
well, a loan,
you can remove everything.
Yeah.
Everything from your credit, you can remove it. Credit card debt, you can remove those.
For sure.
But loans, it's like, there are ways around that. You can still remove those, but if I was to pick one, the easiest ones would be remove student loan, because those ones are harder to remove from your. Like,
for sure. Yeah, I would actually go with the credit card. I would go with, and actually, you know what? Damn, you brought up a good point. Student loan debt. It's a good one. It's yeah. Let's see. Have no more ATM fees wherever you go. So there's no sort of ATM fee, which you could go to any sort of ATM you could imagine, no fee. Or have no more people charging you for bogus shit. So specifically charging you 8 cents for a grocery bag at Jewel Osco. So no more of those unnecessary charges and then the ATM fees. What would you drop?
ATM fees.
ATM fees?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dropping ATM fees for sure.
Facts.
Because what if I want to like take out exactly $30? Or no, let's say I just want to exactly take out 20. I just want to take out 20. You know, there's no nearby Chase. I have to go to this ATM at a gas station. Oh, now I got to pay $1.45 or whatever the fuck. Like, oh, I hate that because it like.
I actually don't trust those. I have a separate bank account that I use for like, because I've heard stories about those and like, you know, I know how those work. So I really don't trust those.
Oh, those gas station ATMs?
Yeah, any ATM that's not a bank ATM, I don't trust them.
Oh, no, yeah, for sure. And honestly, like I've heard that before too. And yeah, man, it's just, it's annoying. It's annoying for sure.
Because what I do is like, if I'm using any other ATM apart from my bank ATM, I use my Cash App card. So I just add the money to my Cash App and go to closest ATM and draw it.
No, yeah, for sure. Makes sense. That's definitely smart. That's definitely smart. Now, would you rather always get your paycheck? Okay. Would you rather always get your paychecks given to you in straight up pennies or never be able to use cash again?
Never be able to use cash again.
No, yeah, I don't want to deal with all those pennies. I did get one time, my first job, I was doing wheelchair service at the airport. Yeah. Like my first 9-to-5 type job. I'll never forget, I got tipped $12 in pennies. Like, just, I was like, all right, you know, a tablet, you know, get their signature. And you just hearing like change rustling. And it's like, oh, probably, because I've gotten tipped quarter. Now, quarters, I don't care. That's automatic laundry. Like, that's cool. You know, I'll throw those quarters for laundry. That's cool. But you just hear more change clinging. I'm like, oh, this is like probably a couple dimes thrown in there or whatever. Yeah. Just one Ziploc of pennies, 2 Ziploc bags. I'm just like, 1, 2, 3, like 4 Ziploc bags. And she was just like, you know, if you have any grocery stores near you, you know, change it to cash. And I looked at her like, ain't no way am I carrying 4 bags of pennies on the way home just to go to a Jewel Osco. Like, I didn't even have a backpack. All I had was like some sort of pouch to like put the tablet in there for work. I'm like, I'm not carrying all this change, but I had to, because it was just like, what am I gonna do with it? You know, I can't just leave it here. Like, so I had to barely drag it out to like Jewel Osco. Barely got $12 cash off it. So I'm just not use cash again, because that was a shitty experience.
Facts.
Very shitty experience. Always have a full phone battery life, or always have a full gas tank?
Full phone battery life.
Full phone battery life? I'm not mad at that. I think that's a good call. Now, I think there's no. I don't think there's right or wrong here. I wouldn't blame someone for wanting full gas tank. You know, I wouldn't blame them for that. But at the same time, it's like in the most crucial moments, if you don't have your charger, if you don't have like, you know, like any sort of like, you know, charge system on you, you're screwed. So having consistent like phone life is honestly, that would be insane.
Facts.
That would be insane. So honestly, preferably, I'm gonna go full gas tank. But I'm not mad at that full phone battery answer at all. I think that's a very good answer. I feel like both has its pros and cons for sure.
Thanks.
And then 2-3 more before we wrap up the show. Would you rather go back in time and fix that one big money mistake? So that one big money mistake, if you had one, or look into the future and see where you end up financially right now. So it's either you hop back in time right now to fix that one mistake you made, or screw the past, I'm good where I'm at, I just want to see where I'm going to end up in the future. So past or future? Future?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would rather go to the future too. Because I'm one of those people like, oh, what's going to happen to me in 2040 something? Like, I want to see, like, what am I going to be doing? Like, am I going to be an old man, like, chilling, you know, on my farmland back home, or am I going to be, you know, chilling still out here in Chicago? Like, I want to know. Like, I want to know where I'm going to be at.
You can create that for yourself. Like, you don't gotta know. You can just tell yourself this is what's gonna happen, and you know, create that for yourself.
Absolutely. Like, I liked how you said that way. 1,000,000,000%. Have a job that pays you a good salary, but you don't enjoy working there, or work at a job that you love, but the salary isn't that good.
Don't love working there.
Absolutely, because I think. And that's cliche, like work at somewhere where you love to do it. I don't think some people really pays too much attention to that, because nowadays you actually have some people like, there's even like a few professional athletes, like not that I can't really think of any right off the top of my head, but there's been a few like that didn't really have like crazy like inner peace like that. They would have like all the money, they would have this and that, but some of them, like for example, just eventually like kind of like crashes out. That passion, that fire isn't the same for some reason. And I think nowadays, like having like that right now, obviously we're all gonna have like that day. I'm sure for us when we're content creating, like, oh man, like this just pissed me off. Like like whether it's like, not that I can really think of something, but everyone whatever we love to do, we all have like that one little bad day or two. It happens, but you definitely want to have something you consistently enjoy. Like don't become a lawyer just because it gives great money. Like you have to go through tons of schooling, tons of work ethic for that. Like, do you want to be a lawyer or do you want to just do it for like? A lot of that plays into it. So
I feel like the reason why I said I would rather have a job I don't like, get paid a lot of money, because it's like the way my mindset is built is like, everything is temporarily, and if you can make the most amount of money you can from somewhere at a short amount of time, it'll be better than working where somewhere that you love, making a minimum amount of money at at a short amount of time. You're gonna make more money not liking the job, and I've had jobs that I didn't like, and then just for a short amount of time, just because it paid a lot, so yeah.
Hell yeah. And I like how you put it that way. I didn't really look at it that way. Like, everything's separate. I heard that saying before, but I didn't really think too much about it. But in this situation, I'm starting to think a little bit more. I'm gonna think a little bit more about it when I get home. And then lastly, the very last question: would you rather double your current rate of pay at your current job, or have a year off before what you're making?
Yeah, off.
You're off?
Yeah.
You're off, yeah. I'd have a year off too. Year of vacation, my goodness. Like, oh my God.
Thanks.
Like the amount of traveling you could do. Oh my God. Like
Thanks.
I would swing by the Bahamas and Jamaica, then I'd probably check out London. Oh my God. Like, yeah, I'm gonna do the year off. Because yes, the doubling the current rate, that would be nice. But I think go on a vacation. Why not? Because I've only been on, like, my longest vacation ever was like 3-4 months. Like, I left work, but freaking in this situation, a whole year, like, I have nothing to worry about. A whole year, calendar year. Oh my goodness. But ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, man. I'm, for your first ever podcast. Glad I got you glad I got you get here on the show, man. So guys, please check out Karl. Everything link in the description below. Subscribe to him. Check him out. Show mad love to him. Anything you want to wrap up before the outro of this episode kicks in? Any last advice you want to give in to the people out there, man? Anything right now?
Advice. For the entrepreneurs out there, those are the only people I really have an advice for, because I'm an entrepreneur in the making too as well. So I would say whatever you're doing, build a passion. Even if you don't like it, build a passion for it. Whatever it is that you think is going to get you to the next level, try your best to build a passion for it. And consistency is key. Like, if you do the same thing every day that you don't like for 21 days, you're gonna build a habit of doing that. Now, if you keep doing that for a year, you're gonna have a massive growth, basically. So, yes, consistency is key. I'm sure you guys have heard that a million times. Consistency is key, and it is key because every day I was dropping a video, and guess where I'm at I think 1.5 million followers across all platforms. So those you guys, I want to be content creators as well too. Pick a niche. Stay consistent, and the results are gonna pay off. It's gonna be hard starting off, like same as you starting off a podcast and stuff. Which I'm curious. I want to see where this podcast is gonna get.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Just staying consistent.
I definitely have a big vision for it. I definitely do.
Exactly. Yeah. Staying consistent and dropping consistently every day. You're gonna make it big. That's how I see it. So yeah, that's really it.
Absolutely, people. You heard it here. Consistency is key. Couldn't agree any more with that. Karl, thank you for being on the show. We'll see you guys in deep end next time on episode 8. Take care.